Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us and our panel this morning on how to win in a multiple offer situation. We grabbed some agents from many of our offices across the region who are having good success in having multiple offer situations where their buyers are coming out ahead and winning transactions without maybe necessarily going through doing a lot of offers and failing along the way. Sure, that happens sometimes, but I think our panel this morning is having a lot of success and has a lot of great ideas that they can share with us on how to win in a multiple offer situation. I'd like to introduce everyone shortly or briefly here. Gagan Deep is from our Kent office. Morning, Gagan.
Good morning.
Good morning. Calvin Mark from our Burien office.
Good morning.
Good morning. Claudia Kuniholm is here from our Edmonds office. Was Linwood, but now recently moved to Edmonds, or our Edmonds office. Debbie Kerns from West Seattle.
Morning.
Hey, Debbie. And Tami Wooding from our Federal Way office.
Good morning.
Tami. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Hey, so one thing that I am hearing a lot that I would love to just address right away is I hear agents talk about how their clients need to lose a couple of transactions or lose a couple of offers before they'll get serious and before they'll make good offers or have a chance to win. And what I'd like to hear from you, and we'll start with Gagan, is what do you tell your clients? How do you work with your clients to preset expectations when you're making those offers? Gagan, what do you do?
Well, honestly, Tay, I always set winning expectations. Of course, I educate them about the market, lack of inventory, multiple offers, and how best to compete in a situation. But it is getting them in a winning and makes them and to submit the best offer they can. The goal is to win.
Yeah, absolutely. So presetting those expectations to do to set up the best offer you can first. Gagan, your camera was a little bit choppy, so I'm not sure, but we'll keep going. Hopefully that will hone in a little bit for us. Calvin, tell me about how you preset expectations.
Yeah, I would agree with what Gagan said. Definitely preset some expectations to the buyers by saying, hey, this is what we're going to be up against. This is what we need to do to win. Have strong earnest, for example, strong earnest money, strong price, obviously, down payment, pre-approval letter, pre-underwritten letter if possible. Get your lender involved in the conversation as well to have them also help set the expectations to the buyer.
Yeah. What do you think, Claudia? What are some things you're telling your clients?
I do the things that Calvin and Gagan do, but I also will take some time and show my clients where the list price was and where the sold price was in the area that they're looking, so that they can see that what we're looking at is not something we're making up as realtors trying to get a higher price, but this is actually what's happening in the neighborhood that they would like to purchase in.
Nice. Okay. Debbie, how about you?
Yeah, all of that. Plus, taking a look at how it is priced, taking a look at some of the comps and say, and if it's a house that a lot of people will like, it has a lot of those characteristics that more buyers, families, especially if you're working with a family and those houses have had a lot of competition, saying right after the showing that this is going to be a property that a lot of people like, and seeing how it's listed. And if it's listed under market, and they don't have an offer review date, that's happened recently, setting that expectation. Hey, this is, according to my comps, this could sell for as high as X over list price, and it may even sell higher. So, and show them that data, go over that with them.
So really getting into the data of what the homes are, and like Claudia said, seeing what's sold and things of that nature, and really getting an idea there. Tami, what about you?
I use this phrase often with my buyers, which is do not fall in love with this home until after A, it's been accepted, and B, we've done the appraisal. So really fall enough in like with it that you're willing to make an offer, But I really want to set that expectation up at the beginning that this might be something that we might be doing again and again. And I don't want them to just constantly be thinking about the last one. I want to move forward on this. So that's, I think, a bit in this market, I think that's part of it. And then secondly, if we keep getting beat out in their price range, I recommend that they reduce their where they're looking so that they can go in at a higher price range and kind of set that expectation too, that yes, I know you can qualify for 450, but if we have to go over, you're not able to compete. We can see that in the 3 offers that we've written. So why don't we bump it down so that you're able to really have a fighting chance at this?
Yeah, I like it. Good. Okay, another question for y'all, and that is, how do you handle an escalator clause as a buyer's agent? Like, really, what do you do with that goofy form? If you're going to use it, how do you use it? Let's start with Calvin.
Well, again, that's part of the conversation we have at the beginning. What are they willing to escalate to? How much? What are they qualified for? Of course. What I usually do is, when we do talk about the escalation increment, we try to make ourselves stand out by having a significant amount over the next competing offer. But of course, we have to see do we have any mitigating circumstances on our offer. I mean, are we wanting an inspection? Are we not conventional? I mean, if we do have some strikes against us, we need to make that increment even more significant to counteract our deficiencies in our particular offer.
Yeah, good. Claudia, what do you do with a escalator?
Really the same. I do talk to my clients about a significant increase and kind of an odd number increase as well, so that it's not just an even number, because I see a lot of offers coming my way when I am the listing agent where it's just an even number, and maybe that extra $777 or $835 is going to get the offer accepted. So an odd number, but a significant enough amount given the purchase of the property price.
Good. Okay, I like that. Yeah, very interesting. Okay, Debbie, what about you?
Yeah, similar. We talk about the maximum, and I always say something like, I want you guys to think about what price that you would feel comfortable going up to, so that if you don't get it, you could say, well, we gave it our all. You don't want to say, if you don't get it, dang it, we should have gone up another, X amount. So we have that conversation, and then the increments, they need to be compelling is what I'll say to my buyers.
Yeah.
The increments, we can't, I have had someone, well, how about 1,000? And that way we only have to pay another 1,000. I'm like, yeah, not going to make a marked difference to where the sellers just say, oh, let's pick that one.
Nice.
It's got to be compelling, those incremental amounts.
Yeah, all that kind of falls under that still presetting expectations. I love that. Okay, Tami, what about you?
Well, I think it goes back to, I'd say the number one thing that is important when I'm representing a buyer is that I have rapport with the listing agent. So my first call is always, are you accepting escalation clauses? So I want to know, I'm not going to submit it if they're not comfortable with that. So I want to play nice, and I want to follow by the rules, and I want to, create a ton of rapport. So if they are allowing it, then like Debbie said, I'm very big on what is the number that you are going to kick yourself if you don't get that? When you see that another buyer got that for $1,200 more, is that going to sit well with you? So what is that number, and how much will you feel okay with that? If you don't get it, you can walk away and we can move on to the next one, and they don't have a bad taste in their mouth. So setting that expectation with the buyer, I think, is so, so big. And the other thing was, I really, in a perfect world, prefer my buyers come in at highest and best. We're primarily a listing agent, and I like to see that with offers that I get when I'm presenting to a seller, is come in with your best at the beginning. I mean, let's get after it and not keep playing this game. So
yeah, interesting. I like that. Okay, that's good perspective, especially again from a listing side, right? What are we wanting to see? And we're going to get to a question on that. Gagan, what do you think?
Well, as far as escalator clauses go, first, I educate my buyers regarding their financial capacity, then about the value of the home, looking at comps and balance that with the equity potential as sound investment. This sets the expectations that they may have to strive financially to get the home they want.
Yeah. Okay.
Tay, real quick.
Yeah.
So a little bit of piggybacking on what Tami was mentioning, we usually like to even don't start your offer at the list price.
Right.
If you know you're going to be in a competitive situation, start
Sure.
higher. I mean, that's going to set you apart from everyone else already.
Mhm.
And also, as you are doing an escalation clause with the cap significantly higher, probably make sure we have a 22 AD involved in that. So, and that's the additional funds in case of a low appraisal. And if your clients aren't aware of that, obviously talk to them before making the offer to have those funds available, and that's obviously on top of your down payment funds.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of going of going above the asking to start, because I feel like it clears out some cash possibly offers, right? Especially if your bid increment isn't that big. Right? You might want to try to clear some out. Gagan, what do you got?
So Tay, as he said, start out with escalation, start out a little higher. I agree with him, but at the same time, like I have ran into a few listing agents that do lie when they're actually talking about offers coming in. I actually came across with one particular person. He said, we have multiple offers coming in. Send in your highest and best, right? And then it turned out he never got any offer.
How'd you find
So
that
he was,
out?
well, how I found out, because my buyers really like the house, and they were like, well, if we're gonna high, I might just pass. And then so he passed on it, but that house never got sold. So I called him up again after like a few weeks. I say, hey, what happened? You were saying that you were gonna get multiple offers. He's like, well, did, but the seller decided not to sell because he's looking for something even higher. That told me he probably never had any offers. So I was the one who ended up selling the house for even cheaper than a list price.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, it gives
you
gives
just
agents a
have
bad
to
name
give.
to be unethical like that. So I
Yeah.
would suggest people don't do
And
that.
not only once, not only once, that same person listed another listing, and he did the same thing with another listing, and it was on the market for a few months, and I was the one who sold that second listing of his again
Yeah.
for,
So it's
for less price.
for that person. Well, yeah, that definitely can happen across the board, though. If you're trying to just do what's best for these clients right now, that Calvin's idea might be a good idea, might not. Different situations, call for different things. But one thing did come up in your answers to the original question of how do you utilize that escalator clause, and I heard significant. A price increment. I heard a compelling price increment. But what I didn't hear is, what are you suggesting? Right? What dollar amount are you suggesting to your buyers that you bid increment? Now, the top amount that they're willing to go, that depends on other things. But when we're talking about the bid increments, what are you doing? Just really briefly, firestorm here. Calvin, what are you telling your clients to put in there?
It all depends on the price range that you're talking about, of course. So, I mean, if you're talking about sub 500,000, maybe 5,000 to 5,500 or something like that would be fine. But if you're talking, 900,000 to $1 million home, you're talking 15,000, you're talking 17,500, or some odd number that again, set yourself apart. But of course, it all depends on the house. I mean,
Okay.
and how comfortable your buyers are with it.
That's good perspective. Does anybody have a different feeling on that, or is that pretty much across the board? We feel good with that.
Yep.
Yeah. So it depends on how much the price is. But notice, no one said a number less than $5,000. Right? Yeah. I think that's an important thing, key takeaway there. Okay, good. All right, so talk to me about, let's go to another question. Talk to me about if you show your clients a home and they absolutely love this house, right? And they want to make an offer on it. They want to buy this house, but maybe it has a review period, and that review period is out a few days still. What are you doing? How are you communicating with the listing agent? What is your philosophy on bulldogging, which is just, trying to get in there and force the seller to take that offer? Just briefly, give me a concise feeling of what do you do when your client wants to make an offer and it's multiple days until you can submit or until the listing says that they're going to review offers. Let's start with Claudia. Let's start with Claudia on this one.
So I definitely call the listing agent immediately after showing the house, and I try to build some rapport immediately. I think that's really important to have that discussion with the agent and see if they're really waiting for the review date, or if the sellers would consider an early offer. And I let them know I've got a strong offer, and have a discussion about my client and whatnot. And then if I have any inkling at all that they will review early, that there's even the slightest chance, then I get my offer in right away. And I educate my buyer about that as well, so that they know sometimes we do have to wait to get our offer in. But if we can get it in early, I do. I see so many not really waiting for that review date right now, that waiting, I think, is really suicide for the offer. So get it in there, get it done, and talk to the agent, build the rapport.
Nice. Debbie, what do you think? Anything to add on that?
Yeah, same. And before I call the agent, I'm going to get on the MLS and find out who I'm dealing with too.
Oh, yeah.
He's an agent. Do they do a lot of business? Have they done 2 transactions in the last year? Get a sense of who, who's on the other side. And then, yeah, if they say, yeah, my seller, I think, would accept an early strong offer, then yeah, I'm going to work with my buyers to get that early offer in. If they say no, I'm not going to submit an early offer. That is such a pet peeve of mine when I'm a listing agent. It's irritating.
Good. Yeah. Okay. Good perspective on that. Tami, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, like Claudia said, always get good rapport with that listing agent, and then communicate. I like to communicate daily. Where are we at? Maybe a couple times a day. Do you mind if I call you, text you to see where you're at, if you've received offers, and really not to bug them, but just to kind of make sure that I'm giving my buyers a fighting chance. And then if the buyer really loves it, I'm making sure that that offer is really cleanly written and it's ready to go, so that if I need to submit on the dime, I'm ready to go.
Nice. Okay. Gagan, what do you think? Anything else?
Well, this is a tough one. It really boils down to a seller and how well their agent has prepared the market. Putting expiration dates on the offers are great when no other offers are in, and it creates sort of anxiety for the seller to them to respond. Ultimately, the expiration dates and review dates are just suggestive. I think it is good practice. It's not bulldogging. It's about being proactive and providing great service along with a clear communication and a great offer. It's more annoying when you submit a great offer and seller acts greedy, and you use a great offer to
Gagan, you're breaking up a lot. I got most of it though, and Gagan, I like what you just said when you said you took my bulldogging term and you said, wait a second, we should change maybe the perspective of what that is. Maybe bulldogging sounds like a negative thing or somebody's trying to be ultra aggressive, but really, like you said, hey, it's a suggested date. Really, are you being proactive to help your client get in? And my question really that we're trying to get to the bottom is, how do we get the house for our clients, right? How do we get it the first time, the second time, not the 6th, 7th, 8th time? And I really like your perspective on that, hey, maybe not thinking about that as a negative thing, but really more of a, hey, you're proactively doing the best you can for your client to get that house. I like that. Calvin, what do you got?
Well, same idea. I mean, you give the listing agent a call right away, get a feel for what's going to happen if they're going to wait, if they're going to take something early. And, either way, if they're going to take something early, then, get the property, or excuse me, get the offer written up. But if they are going to wait, probably the next phone call is get a pre-inspection scheduled to get your offer stronger by getting that done. If there's a chance that they might take something early, then at least you have already that scheduled and you get that taken care of and, get that checklist marked off.
Yeah.
But again, it's all about, getting that rapport with the listing agent, and just letting your buyer know that, hey, if they take something early, you're going to have to be significantly, your offer has to be pretty strong for them to take something early.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not just this price.
Sure. So I think there's a natural follow-up here, but one thing I did notice that I just want to point out is everybody said call the other agent. When you know your client wants to make an offer, call the other agent. I didn't hear anybody say text the other agent or email the other agent. Call the other agent and start some rapport, which actually goes to my follow-up. And I know Tami had hit on rapport earlier. What are you guys doing? This is just, share if you'd like, not in order, but just share if you'd like. How do you build rapport with another agent? What are you doing to kind of separate yourself from maybe the other agents that are submitting offers?
Yeah, I think it's really crucial. And as I mentioned, we do primarily listings. And I think it's just, more often than not, I am, encouraging our sellers to take offers from people who are communicative from the get-go, from the jump. So just so crucial to just call and, what is the seller looking for, right? That's just a natural question, but what kind of close date are they looking for? What's important to them? Obviously, most of the time it's price, but sometimes it's not. We want a really tight time frame on all of our addendums, that kind of thing. So just communicate, over communicate. I think it's just huge. I would also, I think somebody else mentioned, make sure that lender, that in-state lender calls that listing agent, in conjunction with sending over an offer. Huge. Just huge.
Yeah. And what other tricks, what other things are we doing that kind of helps build rapport? Anybody else want to throw in on that?
I think just any time that you're building rapport with someone, you're engaging with them. You're having a conversation. You're a real person. They're a real person. You're having conversation with them, and having a chance to get to know them a little bit.
Does anybody have that philosophy of finding common ground with the person that you're dealing with? If you can find something that you both have in common, that kind of builds rapport.
Of course.
Sure, of course.
Yes. And I think if you've worked with them in the past and you've had a good relationship with them in the past, to bring up that transaction. I recently just won a multiple offer situation because I was able to remind the agent that we had worked together before. We had a really sticky situation in our prior transaction and we worked through it really well together. And she says, oh yeah, that's right. And we won the offer. Just kind of going back and thinking, gosh, have I ever talked to this person before? How did that go?
Do you all feel like rapport can overcome a lot of obstacles in
100%.
Yep.
100%. I'm shocked and amazed when people send over an offer without calling me at all.
Right.
It's just like, what?
Yeah.
How is that transaction going to go?
Yeah.
If you won't even call to tell me that you're sending it, nada. It just blows my mind.
I always, when I see that email that comes in with the offer and I haven't heard, I'm like, please don't be good, because who is this person?
That's great perspective, right? Because we have to look at it from the listing agent's standpoint as well, and the seller standpoint when we're making an offer of what are they afraid of? What do they not like? Well, so everybody's saying, okay, rapport, it really makes a lot of sense, and I think that this transitions into this next question, and it really has to do with, I guess I'll start by asking, so does rapport with an agent overcome a lack of dollars? How do we win when we don't have the best dollars? We can't. Sometimes our buyer wants to make an offer for the most money. They're going to actually pay the most, and we still don't win. But usually we're going to win if we have the most money and we have a good sound offer. But what about when we know we're not coming with the biggest dollar amount? How do we win that situation? I'd like to start with Debbie on this.
Yeah, and it depends on the seller, right? If it's a family home and it's first time on the market in 40, 50 years, something like that, even though I don't show letters to my sellers when I have a listing, I'm still going to send love letters on behalf of my buyers, because some agents will show it to their sellers, and that can make a big difference. I've had cases where it's an older couple and maybe they've left, but they're right around the block, and they want to know who's going to buy their house. I know they're not supposed to accept an offer that way.
Yeah.
But if I have a chance to meet them at any time, I'm obviously going to engage and have a conversation. And even if I don't send a love letter, I'm going to say in my summary of the offer a little bit more about the buyers, so that the sellers have a sense of who would be buying their home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will just real quick, because I do have a note here, because I knew that love letters would come up. And I do want to just make a note that no matter what office that you're in with Berkshire Hathaway, your managing broker strongly believes as a listing agent, you should be informing your seller of the liability that comes with reading love letters when you receive multiple offers, and to probably suggest to them that maybe that they don't read those letters, or that they don't ask you to provide those letters to them until at least you have signed around and have mutual acceptance and are moving forward with the transaction, because there is a lot of liability on the listing side especially.
Right.
So anyway, just want to make that note.
Good disclaimer, Tay.
A little disclaimer for all you agents out there listening to this. So okay, good, great perspective though, Debbie. That's fantastic. Okay, Tami, what do you think? What are you doing if you don't have the most money? You know, you're not bringing the biggest stick.
Yeah, I mean, like Debbie said, it's tough. I mean, again, it goes back to trying to find out. It's a little like being a detective when you're representing a buyer and trying to figure out what is going to move you to the acceptance when, you know, with the listing agent and the seller. So it's just asking those questions. It's probing as much as you can. And you know, sometimes it's a matter of what is it going to take to get into this house? I mean, you know, I know sometimes people are nervous about being that blunt, and it obviously depends on that listing agent. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's about just really strong communication and being an advocate for your buyer.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Gagan, what are you doing in those situations if your client doesn't have the most money that they're bringing to the offer?
Well, I superior communications and removing unnecessary contingencies and having my client and the lender ready to close with an underwritten file with it. And then what else I do is that way we can physically close in at least 3 weeks. Even I mean, I like to share about my client and have them write a letter and work to bring seller and listing broker close to the so they can actually want them to win too. It's all about understanding each other and making the seller happy and decision they make. At the end of the day, sometimes the greed in the market is just about money, but more often than not, I connect with heartstrings of the seller. I connect with the heart of the seller, and and the listing broker, and they want to see my buyer win the deal too, and they are happy to accept 5 to 10 grand and 15 less than the over asking. True stories do work, and I beat out all cash offers, sometimes above asking price offers, VA loan 14-day close, just because the buyer was fully underwritten. We were first to the table and did pre-inspection before even putting an offer.
Yeah. Now again, you're breaking up a little bit. We're going to keep going to you because you bring great perspective. But just to summarize, because I think what I'm hearing you say is hey, really, it's about having your financing in line, making sure that the other agent knows that your client, can maybe there's some heartstring stuff there, maybe there's some letter stuff there, but also knowing how capable you are to close this thing and feeling confident that hey, if they go with somebody that they might be more connected to, they're still going to close that deal. Yeah. That's what I'm hearing you say. Through it's really choppy, but I think I got the message. Awesome. Okay, Calvin, what are you doing?
Similar ideas. I mean, you kind of have to think of it as like a matchmaking situation. Just to say, hey, my client doesn't make the most money, but they have a great personality. They have a nice, they're very attractive. I mean, it's those kind of things. Just like what Gagan was saying, you can get a fast close. Already have the inspection waived, I mean, if some people are waiving financing, if they're comfortable. I mean, both those kind of things will make the seller feel more comfortable and more secure about accepting an offer that might be a little lower, but you can, like I said, close fast and close without any contingencies.
Yeah.
Or have a longer closing. I mean, sometimes.
Or yeah, that's true. Exactly.
Yeah.
You can rent you can let them stay for free for a month or something like that if the seller needs.
I'm seeing that a lot. The plus three is coming back. Renting back for a month has happened twice in the last 2 months for my sellers, with a rental agreement, but no money for the rental.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm seeing that a lot.
Very, very common. I'm seeing.
That's Claudia. What are you doing in those situations?
Well, really what everybody else is doing, but also making sure before we ever start that my client's fully underwritten with their lender and being able to provide that information and letting the listing agent know, hey, my lender's anxious to talk to you. They're available. I talk to my lender ahead of time and say, we're submitting this offer. Can you be available? Lenders, I work with a great lender. She's always available and she's happy to do that for me. That helps a lot. And just having the cleanest offer possible with the least contingencies on the offer, as others have mentioned, and then finding out, do they need the free rent back, longer close? What is it that they really need? And offering that to the listing agent that we can do that.
Yeah.
Wherever we can be flexible.
I'm taking away the detective, right, comment about really finding out what really can separate you. What are the small intangibles and the matchmaking in those things, and then making sure that your financing is really solid. Good. Okay. We just 2 more questions for y'all. I've got one is, okay, so as a listing agent, talk to me about, from a listing agent's perspective, what are you seeing or what are you experiencing that is a big turnoff for you? Like we've touched on a little bit, and Debbie said, hey, if I see something come in and I don't know who it's coming from, they've never called me, I'm praying it's not the best offer, right? What are some other things like that are really just putting up some red flags for you as a listing agent? And we'll start with Tami on this.
I get a little nervous when someone hasn't seen a home and wrote an offer. That's kind of a red flag for us. When an agent won't go and show the house and is asking, I mean, those kinds of things are obvious red flags.
Yeah, no, that's good to remember. Okay, what about Gagan? What are red flags for you as a listing agent when you're getting multiple offers? How are you deciding which is better?
Well, I agree with everybody else. When somebody just sends you an offer and they haven't seen the house, that's a big one. And letters, that's another one. They'll call you, be like, hey, I'll send it to you in a few hours. No. And I've been through these situations already before. There was a situation, I had an offer on a listing. The guy's like, oh, my buyers really love the location. It's the right price and the right house. And then they're like, oh, sorry. So I was like, I think it could have be easier if they saw the house first.
Yeah, absolutely. So just the idea that, though, if you're sending something in, that you're doing what you say you're going to do, right? We don't want to hear from somebody that they're sending in an offer in a couple of hours and then not have it for a day, right? I mean, these things are not helpful. Calvin, what do you think?
Definitely those things that were already brought up, but something that really is irritating is when they write a very sloppy looking offer. They don't fill in the right items, they don't mark things correctly, missing addenda, things like that.
Especially if you've uploaded it to the MLS and then they still don't include it. They're like, what?
What are you looking at? Yeah.
So let's dissect that for just a second, because that's a couple of different things, right? So Calvin is starting with, hey, if the offer itself isn't written well, if there's missing things, and Tami's saying, well, and on top of that, we're not necessarily getting all the forms, so we can't even get mutual acceptance. They're showing that they're not actually coming to the table. What are the other things that people are omitting?
Well, how about when they they'll add an addendum, let's say a title contingency or something like that, which I don't encourage, but because it's a little redundant in my opinion. But then they won't include it on the first page of the purchase and sale. So it's just like sloppy housekeeping things. I mean, frankly, if you're not using Transaction Desk, that's kind of a red flag for me too. I don't know. I mean, I just like it to be clean and well written, and review back to we've always put in tips for a strong offer. It's just suggestions in the MLS. And, I mean, how more simple can we make it? And they're still not doing that sometimes. Red flag.
Yeah.
So Tammy's saying handwritten offers might actually be hurting your clients. But that's interesting. But that's the perspective that we want to get here. That is really interesting to hear. Okay, Claudia.
So I think everything that everybody said. The other thing that I do sometimes, if I have several offers that are very close together and we have the escalator clause, is to go back and ask for highest and best. And then if I don't get a response, then it's off the table. I had an agent really annoyed with me, and he said, well, you know, I could have done this or this. And I said, well, I asked for highest and best. You never got back to me. Your offer was sloppy to begin with. I'm sorry that it didn't work for you, but really being a good communicator with both agents and getting what we need to get it done for the client.
I'm hearing communication on both sides, whether you're talking about from the selling side and what you're expecting from the buyer's agent and what you should be doing as a buyer's agent. Very, very good. Debbie, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with all. I was thinking about getting offers sometimes that are just a forwarded authentisign email.
Yeah.
That is like a pet peeve of mine. If it's a case where I've been having communication from the buyer's agent, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm waiting for that final signature from one of my buyers. Thanks for your patience. And then they do that just to expedite getting it to me. That's one thing. But if they're not going to take the time to actually send an offer package via email versus forwarding that, you know, that's not a good sign.
I have one more thing. Really, one of my number one pet peeves, and what I will communicate to a seller, is an out-of-state lender. And I mean, they have just either not performed, or there's 3 extensions. And you know, obviously a seller can choose the one that they want, but I will give them my perspective on, you know, somebody can write anything they want, but is this going to come to completion, and are you going to get the funds in your account? And so that, you know, at least if they are adamant about that and it's the highest offer, I will have them run it through Prosperity and see if it all checks out.
Yeah. So if you have some reserves or you know, reservations about it, using Prosperity to double check something's not a bad idea, and asking that buyer to do that. I like that. I think I might have missed somebody on there, but I'm going to go to the last question because really the last question is just kind of a free for all. The question just simply is what are the other tricks and philosophies, things that you do or have seen that you think make you and your clients more successful maybe than the average agent out there writing offers? And I'm going to start with Gagan on this. So Gagan, go slow so we can really hear you well, as I know you've got good perspective on this.
All right, you have to be innovative in every situation to find ways you can work faster, smarter, and provide superior and better value. There are literally thousands of agents any client can choose to work with. But if you want to win, I tell them you will need to Gagan. And it is because I believe in my ability to deliver every time. My clients know, they see it and they experience it. And anyone can get it done, but I show them how I will get it done better for a more or money and faster than anyone else. Above all, I always show up and come from an attitude of gratitude and service from heart. And my clients can tell that I love what I do. And I truly love it when I can make their dreams come true.
Yeah, I love that, coming from an attitude of gratitude, right? I mean, that stuff does come through, and it absolutely helps, especially when you're building rapport with other agents. That's awesome. Okay, thank you, Gagan, for that. Calvin, what do you got? What other tricks and tips do you have for us?
Well, I mean, I don't think there's a blanket thing that you can do for, you know, every offer. I mean, every offer is going to be different, so you just gotta, you know, roll with the punches on each and every offer that you go for, and, you know, just go through all those tips that we already went through. I mean, it won't always work, but I think the bottom line is, you know, get that rapport with the other agent first and foremost, and I think things will fall in line after that initial conversation, making sure that you get those little tidbits of information from the listing agent that will basically tell you what you need to do moving forward.
Yeah. Good, good. Claudia, any last thoughts?
Just also educating your buyer. I think that's really important so that the frustration doesn't happen if you don't get your first offer accepted. Setting those expectations early with the buyer and then keeping the communication open and discussing each offer in detail with your buyer, and treating it as a new day. I always let my buyers know that the house they get is the house that was meant for them, and it always happens that way. So if it takes offer number 2 or maybe offer number 3, don't give up. I'm here for the long haul. I'm going to help you make it happen. And then just keeping that good communication open with the other agents, so critical.
I like how Claudia said offer number 2 and offer number 3 is the long haul, right? We should be able to be
That's not bad.
effective and helping our clients. I love that. Yes, for sure. Debbie, what do you have to take us out here?
Well, I guess additionally, sometimes there's a property that's been on the market a little bit longer, and it's simply because it hasn't been marketed well. And I did have a closing a couple months ago that was in that category, and we went and saw it. They didn't want to, and I said, I really think this one may be better than what it looks. I'm going to go preview it. I think we should add it to our tour. So anyway, it just so happened they thought, well, can we wait and get an offer in tomorrow? And I always think of that time is of the essence in this business. And you need to, when you find something like that, whether it's new listing or been on the market for a while, doesn't matter. But if your clients are interested, you need to move on that and not wait. And there were 2 other offers that came in after later than ours, but the seller had already accepted their offer. So I think the time is of the essence, and anything that we're doing is just so critical in this business. You've got to stay on top of things and move.
Yeah, and Debbie, to piggyback on that, I think sometimes we get complacent in that the listings just get sent and we expect our buyers to call us. But since you had worked with that client, you kind of knew that this ticked off boxes, and that's really being a professional and kind of, taking your business under control and not letting the market dictate what's available. So I think we should probably be getting back to that a little bit, even though we're not going to brokers opens. But if you see a home that your buyers would like and you don't think that they acted on it, why not go and take a look at it and preview it and contact your buyer? I think that's huge. Yep. But also just some concrete things that sometimes we do in when we actually submit an offer is we'll tell the listing agent that the seller doesn't need to clean their home, that we'll hire a house cleaner. So just little extras that might entice that seller. Obviously provide a home warranty. If you can do a pre-inspection, great. If you can't, and sometimes sellers don't even want you to do a pre-inspection and they want you to have an inspection. I've seen it because they feel like they want a buyer to know what they're getting. So if that's the case, I like to have the inspection already scheduled before my offer is taken. So I can include that in that bulleted letter that I send, which I, as a listing agent, love a little bulleted letter, either just in the body of the email or separately, that gives me the highlights, especially in a really competitive, if we have a really competitive listing where there's 10 offers or 6 offers, it's nice to have a clean, concise, here's the details of it. So those are kind of some just little extra tips that I think try to set yourself apart.
I like that. Yeah, no, I like that a lot. And we were finishing up with you, Tami, on kind of those, any tips and tricks. Those are really good. I like the idea of presetting that inspection for sure. Calvin, you look like you had something to add there.
Oh, no, I should agree with that, especially the seller cleaning. That's a great idea. I've seen that. We've done that. And then, just the little things that, again, set yourself apart from all the other offers, because everyone's doing the basic. I mean, it's easy to do the basic. And so it's just a matter of taking the extra time and effort to do just one little thing that sets your buyer apart.
Tami, can we wrap this up with you? You emailed over a couple of documents to me, and I'm going to make these available to everybody that I'm showing this to my agents, these 2 documents that you sent. Could you just give me a brief description? What are these documents?
Well, I just kind of touched on it. It's if I'm representing the seller, it's tips for a strong offer. So it's really laying out an expectation for that buyer's agent on how to make a clean offer. If you want to be competitive and in this game, this is what we're looking for. And so it just goes down on financing, and if you're going to provide an escalation clause or highest and best, quite a bit over the purchase price, and we do expect a 22 AD. We want proof of funds if it's a cash sale, those kinds of things. So really concrete tips that we include on the back of the MLS for buyer's agents.
Yeah,
and then
setting expectations for the buyer's agent.
Absolutely.
Love it. Okay, what's the other one?
Absolutely. And then when I represent the buyer, I'd mentioned it, and I think Debbie did too, is that just a bulleted point of what this offer entails. It shows that you're, I think, a professional, and that you're not just authentic, like you said, forwarding over an authenticine transaction desk. You're writing out and you're being an advocate for your buyer. And at the end of the day, that's why they're hiring you. You're their face to get this deal done. And so, go the extra mile for your buyer to win that offer.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, you guys, I have taken up a lot of your time. It is 2 days before Christmas, and you have spent the last hour with me and us pulling this together. I sure appreciate it. I know that this is going to be very valuable to the agents that watch this and take notes and kind of use your ideas and maybe adapt those to their own. Tami, Claudia, Calvin, Debbie, and Gagan, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it, and I hope everybody gets some good value from this. I know that they will. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate it.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Happy New
Merry
Year.
Christmas. Happy holidays.
2021.